And we should be good. If for some reason we have, if our Zoom freezes up, which actually happened to me, I was interviewing Sister Carol, and we had a technical difficulty just like a month ago, and I had to send her a new link. So if we have any problem, I'll send you another link. Okay, if we freeze up or anything. Okay?
Yeah, okay. No
All right,
problem.
cool. Well, Aston, I want to begin first by thanking you for taking the time to do the interview, and then second, apart from giving thanks for taking the time, I want to say big up for your Grammy nomination together with the Wailers for your new album, One World. That's a huge thing, and so I wanted to give you congratulations for that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Now, because of the pandemic, I understand the award show has been pushed back a few months. True?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think the award show is held in Los Angeles. Last year around this time, I interviewed your friend Julian Marley right when he was nominated in January. But now I think they're talking about they're going to do it in a few months. But to be honest, given how things are going with the pandemic, here in Los Angeles where I am, where it's terrible right now. I think that it's optimistic. It's optimistic that they're going to have it in a few months, unless they do it virtually. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they might.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I
Yeah,
heard that if they don't do it physically, they're
yeah.
gonna do it virtually.
Would you have?
Um,
Yeah, would you have attended the Grammy Award show in a normal time? Would you have come to Los Angeles during normal times? For the Grammy Awards?
yeah, I would have been there.
Yeah, yeah. Are you bummed out? Are you bummed out? And does it make it a little bit bittersweet? The fact that you're nominated during this, weird time where you can't properly celebrate the nomination like you normally would.
Well, yeah, well, it's funny. You know what? Whatever Wailers represent, Wailers, it always come with a price, and it's always something that is always never normal.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
well, and I understand. Let me ask you: have you been to the Grammy Award show before?
No, I've
You
never been
have.
to one.
I asked because I know that you, in doing some research to interview you, I learned, which I didn't know, that you had actually gotten a Grammy certificate, I guess they call it, for co-producing a song with Damian Marley. The struggle discontinues. And that album, of course, was a Grammy winning album for Best Reggae Album. I believe it was in 2017. And that song, The Struggle Discontinues, that's probably one of my favorite songs on that, what is already a super wicked album. I wanted to say, whoa, I can't believe that you had a big hand in making that song. And I wanted to ask you, I know it's 2 years ago, but that's not that long ago. When someone is a producer or a co-producer of a song, that can mean a lot of different things. Can you describe a bit the work that you did in co-producing that excellent song on Damian Marley's album? What was involved in co-producing that?
So originally, he called me when I was on tour. He said I would like to fly out to LA because there's this one song that he wants a Wailers vibe to it. So I said, sure, no problem. So I flew to LA for 3 days. It was him and Stephen Marley there. And he played the demo for me. So the original demo was mostly like a major key. So,
Right.
like the chorus. The struggle continued then.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that the whole time. And then we did a version of it, and the
The
first
first
version
version
was
was
good.
good.
But
But meanwhile I was tuning the drums, to wait to do the next version the following day. He came to me and said, I would like you to produce this song. So when he said, I want you to produce this song, I said, sure, no problem. So I took the CD into the hotel room, and I was in the hotel room the whole time. And then once I all right, later, yeah, sorry. Once I understand what the song was about, it says struggle discontinue. But if you listen to the painting, it says struggle. So struggle, you don't really hear any song that talks about struggle, that which is a major key, is a minor key. But we wanted to discontinue. So my father always paint a picture when he's playing the music. It's like dissecting, you know, and that's how we do music. So
Right.
I dissected it and listened to the words and paint the picture on it.
Wow.
And there was no other musicians there. So I said, "What happened to the musician?" He said, "You're the only musician." So, as you know, I'm into gears and I'm into equipment. So that studio had everything that I would want. So I recorded the drums through a Neve, vintage Neve 1084, but I didn't use the EQ. And I used the SSL J9000 EQ. So I didn't use the preamp really on that. So it was a lot of experiments, which was cool. Use a lot of microphones, did different techniques, and used all real instruments, real grand piano, clavinet D6, Rhodes Fender with Mutron. And Stephen Marley brought his guitar, so I used his guitar and played the rhythm guitar and did the plug on the bass.
All the people who are into gear, when they hear
Ye-
those acronyms, those numbers that you're throwing out, they get super excited. So I know that they're going to
Yeah,
be happy to hear all of that. And of course, we're talking about you're co-producing that excellent song, "The Struggle Discontinues," on Damian Marley's Stony Hill album from 2017. Now, Aston, of course, one of the main reasons why I wanted to interview you. Well, there are many reasons, but was because I do want to talk to you about your Grammy-nominated album, for sure, One World. But before we get there, I'd like to ask a few questions about your background and career so far, including, of course, your legendary reggae royalty family. And I think many people who watch or read this interview know, of course, that your father, and I'll be lying if I didn't, have a little bit of a hope in me that maybe when we turn on the screen that Family Man would be sitting right next to you. But it's okay, because I know that he's been in some ill health. How's your dad doing?
he's good. You know, he was with me earlier. I just left the house like an hour ago because I drove up to my studio here where my daughter lives, you know.
Respect.
Yeah,
Well,
so he's doing good.
when good, I'm glad to hear it. When you see him, of course, give him all the love and respect. But like I say, just to say about your father, because you and I know, but maybe not everyone knows, though most people in the world do know, that Aston Family Man Barrett is the legendary bass player who, along with his late brother, your uncle, legendary drummer Carlton Carly Barrett, were the backbone of the original Wailers, who backed Bob Marley on all of his biggest albums. And furthermore, since a lot of reggae fans know their history these days, more and more do,
Yeah.
they probably do also know, but I want to be sure for the purpose of the interview that I put it out there, that your grandfather was the late legendary singer Joe Higgs, who was an early mentor to Bob Marley and the rest of the Wailers, and also a legendary artist in his own right. So, you can't have, and then I know I'll go even one step further and say that I know that also your grandmother,
Yes.
mother's mom, was part of singing Simmer Down and Chances Are with Bob Marley. I think her name is Sylvia Richards.
Yes,
I believe
that's correct.
she may have also had a hit song in '76 called Dearest. So
Yes.
the reggae historians should go back and check that out. But so there are many people, of course, that are just, these are legendary figures in reggae music. And as I said, many people, in fact, call Joe Higgs the father of reggae. And I want to ask first about Joe Higgs, because he's such an important figure in reggae history. And I know that Joe Higgs passed away in 1999 after living in Los Angeles, where I live, for close to 20 years. Would you visit with him in Los Angeles when you were younger?
Yes, I visited him one time. I think it was around 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, we and the whole family came up. One of our cousins, Nikki Bogle, she's a lawyer. She graduated from our law school, and we all came up there. And then we spent some time with Grandpa, like a week, and
Wow.
it was great because no, we spent a week with Marcia Higgs, which is my mother's sister, so we call that Pinky, you know. And Grandpa lived next door. So I used to go next door if I wake up early in the morning because he was always up in the morning and he was always telling me stories. He even trained me a little bit. I didn't really know what he was really doing. He would go like, different things. And he used to talk to me like I was an adult. But I guess he
Wow.
saw something in me, you know. There's even a video. I have a family video where I almost made the whole family miss their flight, and he had to go back inside for me, and it was
Wow.
crazy. So yeah, I have to. I found that video the other day. It's funny. So yeah. So when I was young, I spent more time with him. You know.
And you must have been fairly
Yeah.
young when he passed away. I guess you were, you know,
Yeah. I was 9 years old when he
yeah.
passed.
Now, I read an interview that you did with Angus Taylor for Reggaeville in August, just a couple months ago. And
Yes.
Angus was asking you about the fact that although most people associate you with being a bass player, like your dad, family man, that or a drummer, like your uncle Carly, that you actually sing and you sing quite well too on this new Wailers album, One World, especially on a sweet track that's called Destiny, which I'll ask you about soon. I actually have a few questions about that song because that could be my favorite song on the album. But before we get there, uh, when Angus was asking about this singing debut of yours on the new album, you said, "quote Well, my grandfather is Joe Higgs, and Joe Higgs used to show me a few things when I was younger. When you're a kid, you remember these small little things." And you just started to answer the question I was going to ask you, because I wanted to follow up on that and ask you, what were some of the things that you remember your grandfather, the father of reggae music? These are like pearls to the ears. And you just mentioned how, he would when you were around him, he would work on different vocal chords, and you were a young man who were around him to hear what he was doing, and he was treating you like an adult, which I find to be very,
Yeah.
very interesting, because I know from reading about him that he was a stern guy when he was dealing with
Very.
when he was dealing with the Wailers or any trio, any vocal groups in Jamaica. I know that he was tough, but he had the tough love, to show them
Yeah.
how to really sing. So, do you remember any other things that stick out to you? And I know you were a young man, but is there anything else about your grandfather that you'd like to say?
He was super musical and he loved his family. When he sees his family, it's like his heart, his heart was big. And I remember when we went, the last time I saw him was when he was in LA, that same time. And we got into the taxi and I said, "All right, bye, Grandpa." And he said, all right, bye. And, that was the last time seeing him. But I just remember when I was there, he's always humming. He's always musical, and he just had a presence around him that I could just never forget, and he seemed like he was just like a normal person when he's just
Humble.
walking around, yeah, very, very humble. The thing about it, I didn't really understand who he really was until he passed. And when he passed and I went to the memorial in Jamaica, and then seeing all of these people, even some old prime minister from back in the days, and
Wow.
so many people came to pay respect. And I
Wow.
was like, but, I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't know the impact,
Yeah.
and how deep it was. And even, Even though you didn't see my father in the video, my father was there. My father was the one who helped to organize that whole memorial. You know,
Awesome. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for telling me
he,
about that.
yeah,
Now, sadly, and not just sadly, but tragically, your uncle Carlton, of course, was murdered in April 1987 in Kingston. Was before you were even born?
yes, yes, because I born in 1990, so
Okay.
he passed in 87. Yes,
Yeah. Now and I was reading. I was actually reading in my friend, and you may have met him already, Roger Reggae historian Roger Steffens.
all right, nice.
Yeah. So I have, of course, I have his book on my shelf. Which is one of the most seminal books about Bob Marley. So Much Things to Say, by Roger Steffens. And then I was reading somewhere else actually that your dad, if I ever saw your dad, I would ask him to confirm this, whether this is true or not. But I read somewhere that your dad says this song, So Much Things to Say, is one of his favorite songs.
It
Is that
is.
true? Do you know?
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's
It
one of my
is.
favorite songs too. But in Roger Steffens's book, there's a few things that are mentioned. Both, of course, there's actually more than a few, many things are said about Family Man and about Carly Barrett. But I was thinking about how you're so into the gear, and all the
Yeah.
electronics and all this stuff, and of course it makes so much sense that you are because. For example, Roger Steffens mentions that there's a book by John Missouri. He's another guy who writes about reggae. It's called The Story of,
From England.
yeah, that's right. So, and he wrote a book called
Yeah.
The Story of Bob Marley's Wailers. And in that book, he reported that your dad built his first upright bass out of a couple of pieces of wood. And he used a curtain rod for the string. And that Carlton, your uncle, that he created his first drum set out of empty paint and kerosene cans and kerosene.
Yeah.
And I was so amazed when I read that because then later in the same book, there's a quote from Bunny Wailer, and Bunny Wailer, he's talking about one of your dad's early albums. And he's talking about the way that it sounded and why it sounded the way it did. And this is what he said. I think he said, Family Man was kind of a genius. This is Bunny Wailer talking. He said Family Man was kind of a genius when it came to taking old electrical things that you would automatically throw away. And Family Man would take all those little things and put them together and get a sound or get something from it that you couldn't maybe get from a store. And
Yeah.
you couldn't even the new equipment couldn't get the sound that Family Man was able to get out of the sound. And he said that he was toning the bass so that it would come out clean without having to mix that much, and that you don't have to put it through so much of a heap of equalization. So
Exactly.
I was just
Yes.
amazed, that he was saying this. And the last thing that I mentioned that Bunny Wailer said is he said Carly Barrett was good at toning his drums because Carly was coming from playing pans and tin cans, like I was just saying. And so he worked to get the sound that would suit the ear with that kind of stuff. And he was the first man that he said that when he saw he hit it, it was when he finished, the sound didn't go anywhere. The sound would die when he hit the drum. And that he was the first man that he saw put things in front of the drum and paste it down like a pad so that when you hit the drum, the sound would go nowhere. And he was the first man who would take off the front of the drum. And when I read this back, it meant so much to me because it was just like a year ago when I was hanging around. I was in the studio with another legend. He's a good friend of mine named Scientist.
Nice.
And Scientist is he's a wizard. And I saw him for the first time. It was going to be a session where Sly and Robbie came. So I got to see them playing live in the studio in LA last year. And it was the first time that I saw somebody take the front of the drum off and put all this kind of padding, you know, and for scientists was doing all this stuff to make sure that you could hear the drums, and the drum would just the way that this like Bunny was just describing that Carly would used to do with the drums. So I just brought all that. I know I was talking for so long, but I just wanted
It's great. I love it
because it's so amazing to me, and clearly, you know, you have so much of that in your blood because, you know, when I hear you talk about the gear, I'm immediately I think about this history from reggae and think that this is obviously the result of all that.
Yes, yeah, man. My father was the one who guided me through my whole upcoming of everything. You see, it's like he's my Mr. Miyagi. You know,
Wow.
you see, like grandpa was strict. My father was very strict too.
Wow.
You know, I have understanding because what the music has done. So you can't. I mean, I learned the music so I can teach it, but you don't want to teach it to the wrong people because next thing, you know, like you have people in the band and they'll come in and they learn it, and next thing, you know, they might have a misunderstanding and then they leave with the sound.
Wow.
So, but you know, those are the things why we kind of keep it a certain way. So it's like we say secret, but it's not really a secret because it's really in the blood and the feel. So the feel and it's in the bloodline, but anyone can reach to another level.
Let me ask you this. I was going to ask this a little later on, but I ask it now because it makes sense to ask it now, which is,
yes,
you in plenty of interviews, you talked about how it's been very important for you to maintain the Wailers sound and the sound. And so let me start there. I actually have, this is a two-part question. The first is, with the Wailers sound, how do you describe Aston as the band leader in 2021 for the Wailers, the historic band? How do you describe the Wailers sound in 2021?
I will describe it as an evolution of the same feel. It's the evolution of the same because we have to keep moving forward, but the respect of it has to stay. Because you see, what it really is, and to describe it in a real format, there's a frequency and a vibration scientifically proven, which made album of the century. Why it made album of the century today. And that feel and that vibration is what we keep. So anything that we do, you keep that vibration. And it's funny because I was saying this the other day that after Bob passed, the Wailers kind of went kind of pop because he had different singer. You know, Junior Marvin to me is one of the best guitar players. You know?
Yeah.
And he has a great energy and a great vibe, and you know, respect him very highly.
Yeah.
But you know, Bob Marley was not a normal person. Bob Marley is just
Mystical.
was chosen, mystical, chosen from the Most High. So you know, it's like when Bob Marley talk, you want to listen. But if someone talk and say the same thing, it might not have that same impact on you. So that is the same feel that we carry in the music. And I was lucky enough to have that sound. How did I get it? The only thing I can say is the Most High.
Respect.
And we was chosen to do this work. So I used to run away. As I used to say, I used to run away from it because the Wailers came with a lot of baggages. And you know, because I have the ability to do my own thing.
Yeah.
But to see that my father and Carlton and Bob made so much impact on the Marley family, they're doing a fabulous job with keeping their father's legacy. But for the Wailers' legacy, where it comes to the musical part of it, that is the part where I wanted to make sure to stay alive because they have to do what they have to do so they can stay relevant in their time and to keep their father's legacy. So
I have
when
so much respect for that. So much respect for that because you're such a talented guy. You remind me a lot of like Julian Marley too. You play all these different instruments. You can produce. You know, you can do many things. You didn't have to when your father got ill, and called you back to become the band leader of the Wailers. You could have done many things. You could have said no. And it's a huge burden and responsibility as you're talking about to decide that you're going to take on the Wailer name and be the band leader. So respect,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
respect for doing that.
Of course, man. It really comes, to get like even look a personal, you have remember my father have a lot of children. And
Yeah.
Carlton Barrett also have kids. So the thing about it is, what I mean? I didn't really want to do it because it was to a point where if I took over Wailers, not I wouldn't say everyone, but they would expect that I'm supposed to take care of them, all
Wow.
of them.
Wow.
So because through my father take care of a lot of people, but then when I took it over, it's really just to take care of the music, so the music can fulfill the message to the people, because it's not for us alone, it's for the people, so we can save lives. Because a guy
Yeah.
came to me one time and said he almost committed suicide,
Yeah.
and we saved him. So but I have to give thanks definitely to my mother, Angela Barrett, and there's this guy named Owen Dreddy Reed.
Yeah. Who's played with the Whalers for a long time.
Right. He was the one who guided me. And each time I was going to give up and say, I can't deal with this. Even before my father got ill, I just didn't want to deal with it because, my father had some management that were just not really so smooth in certain things. They were smooth in other things, but not in my liking. So I started touring with Lauren Hill, and I usually tour Julian Marley too. And then
I definitely, because I'm a huge Lauryn Hill fan, so I have a few questions for you
he,
about Lauryn
he,
Hill. But
yeah, man.
let me
But
ask.
then,
Go ahead.
but I said, but when he called me, he said, "Son, I don't have any soldier around me, and you're the only one that I have." So I said, "All right, I won't let you down,"
There's no
and
way
I've
you
been
can.
there ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, respect for that. And then before I pass on to the next question, since we talked about your uncle's sound on the drums,
yeah,
and I know that you've said before that from talking to your father and learning from your father and from watching videos of your uncle and lots of different things, you were able to learn how to how to learn Carly's drum sound. And so I just wanted to can you explain, you just talked a little bit about what the Whaler sound is. What is Carly, how would you describe the distinctive sound of a Carly Barrett drums?
so I would say it's very,
Without giving away any trade secret.
yeah. It's like when you listen to Carly, you think of a plank. It's just so
Wow.
solid.
Wow.
His one drop is so solid and deep,
Wow.
but is not bassy, but it's not trebly, and
Respect.
it have this frequency that when it's like when it's very spiritual. It's a godly,
Wow.
music. When he plays drum, it's like an angelic kind of feel, as I would
Respect.
say. And the thing about it, when him roll, because if you listen to, if I have some drum tracks with him, and if you listen to his roll,
Yeah.
it's like, like when the bass nice and it's in your chest, do,
Yeah.
do, 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 do. When he rolls is the same way. It's like whoa,
Wow.
and it's so fiery, man. So Carlton style is a mixture, as I would say, jazz, samba, and African.
Awesome. Awesome.
So definitely the influence definitely came from Cuba as well, and from jazz. And then when he joined Scratch, you can start to hear more of the funk, because they were definitely fans of James Brown and Jackson 5,
Yeah. All
you
the
know?
Motown. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I learned it, honestly, is my father. Because remember, there's a saying say when you're around someone, you become them. And you see, my father, his music and the way how he is, his personality. Remember, people personality is in their instrument. It's like most guitarists. You notice most of the wickedest guitarists, they have an attitude. But
True.
when they play, it's like, whoa. So it's like Junior Marvin and Al Anderson. They're like one of the nicest people.
I'm,
But when they get into their guitar mode, sometime then they can be
I'll tell you what guitarist I'm
tough.
about to. I'll tell you what guitarist I'm about to ask you about. Earl Chinna Smith. Um,
Oh Jesus.
have you played with him at all?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We did a tour in 2015. We brought a couple of the original members back. Even Dennis Thompson, one of the great engineers, one of the original too. He came back. So we did a tour with Dennis Thompson, Glenda Costa from Zappo and Wailers as well, and Tyrone Downey. That was the first time we brought back Uncle Tyrone, man. He was the hardest Wailer to get, man. Oh my gosh. We went through ups and downs to get him, but when we got him, it was amazing.
I
And
bet.
and then we had China. So that was my first time working with China, and I can see why my father really rated China Smith very highly, because China understand every frequency when it comes to the Wailers. He knows how to put it in. He played less, and then he knows everything. He fill in the right gap, and when he plays, it's like, wow. You
So
know?
Aston. I was really fortunate, actually more than fortunate. I was blessed to be in Kingston. I was in Kingston in March of last year before the pandemic shut everything down. I actually made it home to the U.S.
Yes.
Right before the border shut down. I was in Jamaica before that in the March, and I was so lucky to and blessed, I would say, to extensively interview Chinna. Um,
Wicked. In the yard.
and I was actually in his yard,
Yeah.
in Kingston, and it was incredible because Tapazuki came by, and
Wow.
it was just it was amazing. And when I was interviewing Chinna, and we were talking about how much of a shame it is that Jamaica doesn't have a proper, well-funded reggae museum or Hall of Fame in Jamaica. There's the Bob Marley Museum, there's a Peter Tosh Museum, there's a museum of like Jamaican history, but it's on a rather small scale, I think. And so we were talking about why is it, and he had many reasons as to why it was that Jamaica doesn't have that kind of a museum to respect musicians like your father and uncle in Kingston. And he got very animated. I would say actually more than animated. Chinna was upset, angry that the Jamaican government hasn't awarded an Order of Distinction, or an OD as they call it, to members of the original Wailers like your dad and your uncle Carly. And I'll never forget, he said, Chinna pulled down a framed picture while I was talking to him in his yard, if you can imagine this, last year in Kingston, a picture of your uncle Carlton. He pulled it down off the wall, and he said, you see this? This is the world's greatest blood clot drummer. He went on to say, can you believe Family Man, Wire Lindo, Tyrone Downey, none of these people get an OD or other honor. The world listened to them music, Chinna said. He said, Family Man, this is what Chinna said. He said, Family Man, you understand? He don't get an OD. And he said, how can you don't remember that Family Man played all these, and pardon my French, fucking bass lines? I mean, Miles Davis said Family Man was the wickedest bass man him ever go hear. And Chinna said, if you don't honor Family Man, who are you going to honor? Just think who Family Man is. Family Man is the Wailers. End quote. That was what Chinna said last year in March. So first of all, I guess I was just curious if you had any thoughts about that, about what's up with the Jamaican government. If they're awarding these honors every year, you know, putting aside whether or not there should be a Reggae Hall of Fame or museum in Kingston, how can the original Wailers not get these honors?
You know, maybe they haven't done their research.
But all you have to do is listen to Bob's albums
Yeah.
and maybe look at the liner notes, because as Chinna said, it wasn't, you know, Bob Marley didn't play the bass and Bob Marley didn't play the drums.
No man, no man. My father and Carlton deserve the highest of the highest, in which made album of the century and put Jamaica on another category on the map.
What would you
But
say?
I was saying, honestly, before the pandemic, they were planning to give them an award. From what I remember, Esther Anderson. I don't know if you know Esther Anderson,
Yeah, from
but
the yeah.
yeah, she made a few calls because a couple of the people them was making awards and stuff, and she was just like China. How could you forget? And they were working on everything, but the whole pandemic kind of changed everything, you know. So just to let you know, if you did interview me like before that, then I would be saying the same thing what China said.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you remain. I'm glad to hear that you said that. I'm not sure that the reggae world is aware, but you know, maybe hopefully we'll be hearing some news that the Jamaican government will do right, as Chinna said, by the Wailers, and make sure that they get, as you said, the highest awards that they can give for a cultural icon in Jamaica, order of distinction, and in all the honors that they can possibly receive. Now, I also you know what I think we should do, Aston, because we're running, and I thought this could happen. We're running a little bit long, and that's fine. But what I think
That's fine.
I think what we should do is, maybe if it's okay with you, is because the recording, I don't want it to make the recording too long. So I think what we should do is break it up. So what I will do, if it's okay with you, is maybe we'll take like a bathroom break or something, or get a break to get a drink or something.
Okay.
And I'll send you a new link. I have your number, so I'll send you a new link, and we'll connect back. We'll connect back in about 10 or 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, man, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Because I still have, I haven't even started asking you about your album yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man, you're good, man. You're good, man. You can ask me because I'm not doing anything today. When we finish, I'm just gonna do some recording in here. This is my studio.
Wow, look at that equipment for all the gearheads who are watching this later on. Look at Aston's studio. Is this the Bad Lion? Is this your Bad Lion production studio?
This is Bad Lions up in
Wow,
Pompano Beach, Florida.
This is beautiful, Aston. This is a great way to end this clip. This segment of the interview is to just get a little tour. We're looking at Aston Barrett, Grammy-nominated band leader of the Wailers. This is his studio in Miami, Florida. So
you see, I have to have Uncle Carlton right there.
Wow, yeah, you have to have him. That's not the same picture that Chinna showed me, but it's close.
Yeah, well, this is this picture
Yeah.
was taken in 1987. This is one of his last concerts. This is a show actually in California.
Wow.
In this is a place called Country Club.
Oh wow. I wish I could have been around for that show.
Yeah, Roger Stevens have that video. He recorded it.
I bet he does in his reggae archives. I'm sure he does. Hey, I'm gonna so we're gonna stop the recording, but I'm gonna send you another link so we can link back up in about 15. Okay.
All right, family.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, man.